world of podcasting of Thursday evening, Man2MAN, with me, Elliot J. Powell, and him.
Myself, Lee Stevens. How are you? Everyone good?
Everyone good. No one's responding, so I'm assuming everyone's fantastic, you know?
You just got to imagine it. You just got to imagine it as like, you know, you're in an 80,000 seater stadium and everyone's going, yeah, we're great, like Tony Robbins, you know?
That's it. If you can manifest it, mate, then one day.
Exactly. You never know.
So you were just telling me before we jumped on that your personal training is going well. No, I'm not actually taking the mic. That sounded like I was taking the mic for every beginning of every week, but as in your not PTing other people.
Training, my own training.
Yes.
Yeah. Training's been great. Training's been really good at the moment. I'm very lucky to be able to train. Let's not take that for granted. So I'm happy that I'm able to get into a gym and train at the moment, which is keep me a bit sane, but things are good.
Using all that lockdown weight to get some PBs.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. I mean, I'm eating everything in sight at the moment, so I might as well do something, you know? But yeah, things are good. How about you? Keep it active?
Not really, actually. And you're not supposed to say that if you work in fitness, are you? But honestly, all of it supersedes that, in my opinion.
Good man.
Yeah, no, I've not really done that much activity or exercise this year yet. You can even say, can't you? Nearly at the end of the year. But sometimes I feel like I need a little bit of accountability to have people on the other side of things, or I can be a little bit lazy. I have got a lazy streak in me for sure, but
well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if I'm totally honest with you, 2020 is a write-off for me when it came to fitness. I used 2020 as a time to learn new things or have a slight tailor my focus somewhere else. So just because you're not the sort of same go and fitness person that you were maybe in 2019 doesn't mean necessarily say that's a bad thing, right?
No. I don't. It's like I don't feel necessarily bad about it. I don't feel super unfit. Still feel healthy and good. So, but I am looking forward to getting back and getting my fitness up though. On the bike is. Look. I took the piss out of you last week for not putting a comment up, and I haven't done it myself.
You've done the same, taking the
what?
Pat Wilson, my man. How are you doing, brother?
So while I'm doing this, Lee, do you want to talk us through what we're going to discuss today?
I will, yes. So today's episode, guys, we're going to be talking a little bit. Well, we're talking about the deeper stuff, which is going to be the difference between empathy and sympathy. How we can use empathy and sympathy in their respected fields, I suppose. When you should use them, and I suppose the difference between them, because there is a slight difference which people might not know, and might not also know how to speak about that. And remember, this is from mine and Elliot's opinion. This is not. I mean, we are not therapists. We are not doctors. We're just giving our advice and helping as much as possible to connect on a real level. So that's
just discussing and learning ourselves, right? It's just a good tool to, if you discuss things out loud, then we can kind of figure out what it means to us, and then people might agree, disagree. They can jump in the chat if they disagree, and then we can have a good group discussion and learn together about it. I think that's the best way to do it.
But before that comes, we can't always be serious. People need to understand a little bit more about us. We need to understand about each other. So we got a few little icebreakers, maybe call them icebreakers.
Yeah, just that's going to be the format from now on, isn't it? We're gonna do things, get to know each other a little bit more lighthearted tone, and then we'll move on to the discussion stuff. So icebreakers is a good way to describe it, I'd say. Yeah. Because there always topics comes up from around them, doesn't it? So you can always decide why your opinions are your opinions, and we found out stuff last week, and we're going to continue to find out stuff. You've got some written down. Mine are going to be off the top of my head, but that's just how I roll.
I'm going to think of something with you guys. If I go straight in, right? So this is going to be a big one.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Would you rather go to war with Arnie or Rambo?
See, off the bat, you've given me an actor's name and then a fictional character, so that's a tough one. Because Arnold Schwarzenegger is the actor, and then Rambo is a character. So I definitely go Rambo because I don't know how hard Arnie is. He's just a weightlifter.
Yeah, but okay, let's say Arnie in his wholesome acting person, you know, whether it be Terminator or whether it be him in Predator.
Well, which role is he? Because he can't be all at one. He's not, you know. Come on.
All right, it's got a match, yeah. So we'll say Predator Arnie. Yeah.
Predator Arnie or Rambo. Sly. I'm just going to go for, I think I'd rather go Rambo. You know, he seems a bit more solitude. You know, you don't have to chat to him too much. He'll just be hiding out and keeping watch. You know, I'd rather that vibe than going balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Do you have the same answer, or were you going Arnie?
I'm Arnie. Get to the chopper.
Different film again. God.
Love it. Right, what we got?
Mine for you is, I was going to say, would you rather be in the ring with Mike Tyson for a round, or would you rather be, you know, locked in a cage with a grizzly bear for the same amount of time?
Mike Tyson, for sure, without a doubt. Like grizzly bear can it's not necessarily just gonna you know, Mike Tyson, one punch, game over, knocked out. Didn't feel it, you're asleep. Good night. See you later. Grizzly bear's gonna eat you, scratch you, claw you.
How do you know Mike's gonna stop? Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna walk into the ring knowing that he's gonna absolutely clatter me and it's game over. No, you know,
but he might keep punching you in the head once you're down on the floor. We don't know what.
I'm out. Good night. I can't feel it.
Okay, so it's more like you don't want to be in that scene in The Revenant.
I don't want pain.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, now you've explained it like that, I'd probably side with you.
Exactly. Okay, this will lead on to this. So you said about a grizzly bear, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be?
Good question, and
it's a domesticated pet. It's not going to be like a rogue pet. Like you can teach it and train it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I got asked this question last night on Whiskey Wednesday. Shout out to the lads, actually. So I'm just going to go with my same answer. I want a pet octopus, mate. I don't know if you know that about me yet or not, but that's my favorite animal, spirit animal. Everything
fantastic.
Everything rolled up into one. So if I could have a giant Pacific octopus with if it's domesticated and there's no rules, and maybe it can come out of its tank as well. Just sit on the sofa and hang out with me.
Yeah, I like that. Fair.
Not very rewarding, as in cuddly.
Yeah, see, this is my thing. I'm going polar bear.
Yeah,
I'm going polar bear because I also not only be incredible, cuddly. You know, walk it looks amazing. Imagine someone breaking into your house and they see a polar bear in the living room.
Yeah, that's true.
It'd be the most fantastic surprise you would ever see.
Are you not scared that it's going to roll over and sit on you in the night or something?
That's all right. No, just push him over. Get off.
Push him off. I know you've been lifting heavy recently, mate, but
mate.
Polar bears are they're pretty large things.
They're large.
Okay, then. Would you rather be able to swim underwater or fly? Oh, you're going to go fly. I can already tell in your eyes.
Swim.
Someone never. You just chill all day long.
Yeah, no. I love the ocean. I love the sea. I swam a little bit growing up, so it's always been a bit of a thing for me to swim, and I really enjoy it. And I actually used to do things like, if you go on holiday, how many lengths underwater can you do from the swimming pool? You know, I'm one of those, and I'll challenge anyone in it. So if you fancy it, anyone, let's go.
Man, I fancy it. I like it.
So yeah, definitely swim. Yeah, I just find the ocean incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Good shout. As long as you don't have to have gills that come with it, because I'm not about gills. I'm just not about that life.
No. You just come off the air every so often. Little, and off you go.
Well, that's isn't that against the opposite of what I said? You don't have to come up.
A whale has to come up at some point. No, they don't just stay down there forever.
Yeah, but I'm not limiting you. You can stay down there forever. You're like a fish.
All right. Like Aquaman, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But without the gills. Stop it.
Okay, who is funnier as an actor in your opinion, Kevin Hart or Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell. Yeah, I'm just more about his randomness and improvisation. Like if you ever see his outtakes and stuff, it's like just a bit weird and like straight faced. Yeah. I'm very much into the most like sarcastic, straight faced. Whereas Kevin Hart is very funny, but he's like really animated, isn't he? And like big when he does his stand up at least and comedy. So that's just my taste. Is a bit more.
I met Will Ferrell. That's a claim to fame of mine. I met Will Ferrell. It was good.
Was he funny?
It was fantastic. I was in the first gym that I worked at, and he wore this like burgundy tracksuit from head to toe with the drawstrings pulled, so you could just see his face. And he came into the gym, and like you have to like sort of like it's quite a posh gym, so we had to like introduce ourselves to him and see if he's got everything he needed, sort of thing. And I went over to him and said, "Oh, you got a towel, water?" He said, "Yeah." He was like, "Nice to formally meet you, sir." And I was like, "Are you in character? What's this? Are you Anchorman?" Yeah. It was so weird, but it was good. He was good. He was good. He was a good guy. Nice guy.
Big up to Will. If you're listening, you know Will. All right. Well, who do you find more inspiring, Muhammad Ali or Floyd Mayweather?
I'm going to say probably Ali. I think he's got a little bit more humility. Mayweather's a little bit too much of a showman for me. Amazing athlete without a shadow of a doubt. Like incredible what he does. I don't really like his style of boxing. He's very defensive. But he's great at what he does. But yeah, for me, Ali's just got a bit of his story's pretty compelling, and he's just a man, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. There was no question for that for me. I was trying to think of something that was more debatable to be inspiring, but Ali's how ahead he was of the time when it comes to racism and standing for what he believed in.
Oh, it's incredible! Yeah.
Never mind all the his achievement of how great he was as an athlete as well.
For sure, exactly that.
For sure.
So I think we should move on to the serious stuff. So
the lights come down.
The lights are down. Ooh. And so the main sort of points I want to go through today is empathy versus sympathy. So the difference between them, when you should be sympathetic towards someone, when you should be empathetic towards someone, and how that really comes from a place of like meaning and not just coming across, because you can sometimes come across, I think, you could be very patronizing if you come across sometimes. If you're trying to be empathetic, you can also be patronizing. Depends how you come across, I think, personally. Okay. But what's your view? Empathy versus sympathy, go.
Well, I don't think that empathy is patronizing. I think sympathy is. So let's just like hash it out of what our understanding is of it. For me, I think empathy is being able to step into someone else's shoes, like to be able to think what they think, to be able to see how they've got to those opinions, feel how they feel. So I don't think that that's ever...
Okay, yeah. You're right. I meant sympathy. Ignore me.
I think that sometimes... Yeah, exactly. Mixing the two. But I mean, the words sound the same, and they're also very similar. I don't even know exactly what makes something sympathetic. But I think sympathetic is having... Actually, I don't know yet off the top of my head. But let me just talk through it.
I've got so if I go for the definition, so the definition of sympathy, from what I've read into, are feelings of pity or sorrow for someone else's misfortune, feeling bad or showing emotion based around someone's negative situation. So that is sympathy.
I think that the main word that stood out for me there was pity, isn't it? That can come across like definitely patronizing.
That's where it can come across patronizing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. If you pity someone, then you feel sorry for them, but you don't necessarily have to be. You can feel sorry for someone and not step in their shoes. You can feel sorry for someone and not want to truly understand how they feel. You can just do it from your pedestal or high horse or better or different situation that you're in. You're not
exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
And I would assume it's quicker and easier to be sympathetic, isn't it? Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, empathy takes a lot more thought, for sure. And also, I think there's certain situations where you can only show one or the other. You can't show both in certain situations, I think. Showing sympathy towards someone has to 100% come from a place of being genuine. You can't be sympathetic towards someone and not really mean it, because that's where that line can cross between sympathy and patronizing, or just coming across a little bit like you're trying to do it, but you don't really mean it.
So how do you think somebody avoids being sympathetic if they're trying to understand, but they are actually being sympathetic and not empathetic? How would someone avoid being like that?
It's a tricky one. I'd say
take more time, maybe, or
Yeah, time is definitely something. Think about what you're about to say. Know yourself that if you're trying to be sympathetic with someone, that you do not mean what you're saying, and it doesn't come from your heart and a place of actual deep thought. Don't say it.
That's that old cliche that my mom taught me. Is I'm not sure I don't think it applies all the time, but in this situation, maybe if you've got nothing nice to say, then don't.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't actually mean it, and don't actually.
I think my mum and dad have just joined this live.
Yes, Stephen's parents. We like to see that.
And Gary, that's fantastic. Mum, Dad, if I swear, I'm sorry.
When I first started mental health, my mum and dad both had a go at me because it was beginning of lockdown, and I was trying to be super engaging and make everyone laugh and entertain people, as well as get to some of the serious stuff like we do.
Yeah.
And I kept bringing up wanking all the time. and my mum and dad were like, "What? Do you think you need to talk about wanking quite so much? And do you need to swear quite so much?" It's like, well, it is what it is.
That's what it is.
We all do it. Self-love is important, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's touching on sympathy. Now, empathy, what I've spoken about, or what I've read into a bit, empathy is the ability to sense other people's emotions, coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking or feeling.
I like that end bit. Like, empathy is not just, it takes a bit of skill maybe sometimes. Like, you have to be able to read the person's body language, even if they're saying something, what do they really mean? Can you read their emotions that are on their face and how they really feel about it?
Agreed, yeah, for sure. So like, I think a time like we're in now and how we've been for the whole year, it's probably a time people need to show more empathy than ever before, because there are people who have lost family members or have family members that are incredibly ill from what's happened. And yeah, if you're seen to be doing something that's very against what people are advised to do at the moment, then it's kind of like, well, you're just not showing any empathy towards people. You're not thinking about how that person might feel by you posting something on social media, swanning off to bloody Dubai and riding on backs of camels. But yeah,
I think maybe there's two different types of empathy. Then it's about like your own actions, and you can't see the results of them. So even if it doesn't have like direct impact on people, you're like that ignorance is bliss kind of sort of feeling, or saying that just because you don't see the direct impact doesn't, you've got that empathy that rides above that you wouldn't do something.
For sure.
But then you've got that, that very specific, if someone's empathy where somebody is in front of you. Do you think that people, because I mentioned it about being a skill potentially, do you think that some people naturally will have better empathy than others?
Yes, I do. I think that comes with upbringing. I think.
Yeah, and your experience is like what you've been through in your life, kind of thing.
Of course, yeah. However you've experienced going through life, and how your upbringing has been, and also who you've sort of surrounded yourself with. If growing up you've surrounded yourself with people that are very positive and in a very good place, and they haven't really gone through much struggle, I think you will then struggle to be empathetic towards people if you haven't experienced that growing up. You would never know what it's like to be empathetic towards someone if you've never really experienced hardship or gone through like times of struggle. So yeah, it's definitely that. It's a huge part of it. It's definitely environment and upbringing.
Because there's, I know I've heard of the term empath, and a lot of people sometimes describe themselves as empaths, which to my understanding is somebody that can't help but feel what other people are feeling. Like they'll...
Interesting. I've never heard that before.
Really?
Yeah.
So, for example, if I were an empath, then even we're having this conversation right now, I'd be able to feel, just from looking at you and being around you, I'd to feel how you feel, even if your words, your actions are saying something different.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. But then that comes down to then empathy for sure, but then also the ability to read people and read the room and read a feeling and read emotions without being there with them. It would be pretty interesting if you could read how the hell I'm feeling over Zoom or over.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that I am an empath.
I know. For the purpose of that.
Yeah, 2D is. I think 2D is a lot harder, isn't it? Like 2 dimensions. When you're in with some person, you. But I do think that it's a skill that if somebody really wanted to learn and be better and be more empathetic, I think it is a skill that you can improve. I think that
for sure. I think one of the biggest things that helps me when I talk and communicate with people, so many people I think are very quick to say something. So like we're having a conversation, they're very quick to respond. They're very quick to answer. For me, sitting back for a little bit, taking 10, 15 seconds to think about what you're about to say or think about what they've just said to you and then answering, I think that will help quite a lot to show empathy and even sympathy. Just taking that time to pause. Chelsea Fitness Club, how's it going?
Yeah, if anyone's got any comments on sympathy or empathy or their opinions, then please let us know and we can take it into the mix. And if we're off the mark or anything, but yeah, that is. I mean, I'm not sure how much you've heard me bang on about it, but over the streams, that it is my number one sort of thing that I'm really passionate about is listening, like listening first. I think that you cannot create. It's all good, basically. It's all good and well saying that all men don't speak enough about their feelings. Generalizing. That's sort of the narrative that's been written, and through history or through society, it seems to be a little bit harder for men to do so. Agreed, like definitely. But with the movement of people speaking about it more or mental health more, it's like, okay, yeah, come on, everyone, let's talk about your feelings, do it. I think there's a step before that. I think that if you want people to open up, you have to start by listening. You have to learn how to be a good listener and create an environment that people feel comfortable with and not judged in, and sometimes being able to talk first, in a sense, to set the tone and listen. Just I don't know how to describe it. Like I know I've been through the 5 levels of listening a lot on the stream as well, and the different levels of listening, and lo and behold, the top one, the fifth level, is empathetic listening. So actually stepping into someone else's shoes. So I'm very passionate about that.
It's interesting what Alex just said. So we practice empathy in Yin Yoga. So she just said that, right? Yin Yoga is typically a lot slower, right? So it's the ability to obviously slow down and relax, and it's a long periods of stretching and like just rewinding and like just slowing down a little bit, right? So whilst you're slowing down and whilst you're in that sort of state, does that potentially give you a bigger ability to be empathetic or think about being empathetic towards other people, not just in the now? Because you could think about something that's going on in your life or someone else's life, but that might be the only time that you're actually thinking about it and slowing down. So it's interesting that they study empathy in Yin Yoga.
It's interesting. I've done some Yin myself, but I don't know if I've ever done an empathy practice, and I would be very curious to see what that's like. I'm assuming that, using the time to feel what other people might feel or different emotions that other people might be feeling at certain times or whatever's going on in the world, maybe, which is really cool, that idea that you can exercise your emotions or exercise your empathy without, having to be engulfed by it. Because I always think I'm of the opinion that it's pretty healthy to like cry, and I think it's good to like go to those ranges of emotions, like listen to sad songs, listen to movies that get you moving and stuff, to like make sure you're exercising that range of emotion, even if you don't necessarily feel that sad.
Of course. Some people naturally. I mean, I think I've got better over the years. Growing up, I found it pretty tough to show emotion. I think, like you'd be at a family member's funeral and then like a tear wouldn't even come to my eye. I wouldn't even get choked up. I've actually been the one to like speak at my both grandparents' funerals, and I'm the youngest out of all of my cousins. So I'm the one that's just sort of chosen to go up there. But I don't know if that comes from a place of me being minded or a bit more. Maybe I was closed off to emotions a little bit more, and therefore
was that a long time ago?
Felt like that was my duty. Within the last like 5 years, granddad's was a lot long. I don't think I did my granddad's actually. Definitely did my nan for sure. That was 3-4 years ago. So, I think I've got better.
I spoke at my granddad's funeral. End of 2020. It's fucking tough.
Yeah,
but I wanted to do it in the sense of, rather than nobody wanted to do it from the family. They're not that comfortable with like public speaking or whatever the reasons were, maybe too sad or whatever. I was super sad about it, but I wanted it. I felt it didn't feel right just for like the person who works for the funeral director or home or service to read it out. Mate, that was. It's hard because you have to hold it together in a situation like that, and I'm always one for being, open and honest, and like if you're sad and cried, but that's definitely a nerve-wracking one. I'm really glad I did it, but my God, that was hard. Do you think that you've improved then when it comes to, being what is to credit for you improving and feeling like you can be more emotional or even be more emotional, not even permission?
I think this all ties back to what we're doing now, right? So the ability to speak out and the ability to understand that you don't need to be bottling things up and you don't need to feel strong all the time. There are going to be points where you're going to have times where you will feel a bit weak and you will have down days. You are human. Everyone has emotions. Everyone goes through stages in life where they're going to be up and down, up and down. That is normal. That is just life. So it definitely comes to the talks that we have about people just feeling comfortable to talk and to maybe sometimes surrender themselves to understand, okay, I'm not in a good place at the moment. The best thing for me is to speak to someone and not bottle it up. Which is easier said than done, 100%, and I respect that, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think as time goes by, we need to be pushing home this whole, you will feel better and you will feel a weight off your shoulders if you just speak to someone. Doesn't matter who it is. They don't need to be a friend. They don't need to be a family member. You can have a very good relationship with you, me, someone that they go to a sports event with, or if they're part of like a team, anything.
So have you felt that before then? Have you felt pressure to bottle feelings up?
Yeah, I'd say so, for sure. Definitely. Really? But probably more so when it comes to like relationships, maybe.
Okay. In the sense of wanting to be perceived in a certain way.
Potentially so, yeah. Or like understanding, okay, like I might have a certain issue, but rather than voice that issue, I don't feel like it's my time or my place to voice that issue yet. So I'd rather just like sit on it and try and figure it out myself.
Yeah. As in, it's something that makes you feel a certain way, and it gets to you, but you'd rather just push it down, pretend it's not happening, and try and carry on.
For sure, yeah.
And then it becomes a bigger issue, and
of course, yeah. And this doesn't have to be just a relationship with a partner. This could be a relationship with a friend, right? Like it could be a friend whereby they might be doing something, and you're like, that's once you've done that, that's twice you've done that. Don't really want to say anything yet, and then all of a sudden it's an issue that could just explode. Your relationship could just go. Whereas if they did something once, maybe say, mate, didn't really like that. Like, this is how that made me feel. They'll like, oh, okay. Maybe put steps to not do that again, rather than keep snowballing it and getting worse.
I 100% back that, because with my friends as well, any time that you've had things that come up and difficult conversations, when you work through it with, and not to link it all back, but with empathy of like, I'm trying to think about how it makes you feel, and hopefully you're doing the same thing. You're trying to make it think about how I feel, because we're in a relationship with friends or whatever, with partners. Look at us trying to give relationship advice when we're both bloody. Oh God, I didn't finish that sentence, but you know what I was going to say. But yeah, especially when it comes to friends, I felt like when you get past it, it just feels so good, and like you feel like stronger. You like definitely feel like you've overcome it.
And that also, so if we do link it back to empathy, then if a friend was to come to me and be like, Lee, like you've done this, or like this is an issue that I've had for the last however long, straight away then, instead of reacting from like emotion and just snapping straight back at them sort of thing, maybe then sit back and listen. That's when it comes to listening, and then you react from an empathetic place where it's actually like genuine, to put yourself in that person's shoes and realize, hold on a minute, yeah, you're right, I have been that person, I have done that to you, sorry, like this is how I'm going to try and make it up to you, sort of thing. And that's where genuine empathy comes from. Yeah,
just like anything, is when you're dealing with one-on-one people, relationships, people, it's like it's always got to be a two-way street. If you have those platforms of listening and empathy, it's pretty magic combination. So, what we're saying about sympathy, is there ever a time for it?
There's definitely a time for it.
Is it? Yeah,
I think it's definitely individualized. So every single situation will be different of how you come to give people sympathy. Are people looking for sympathy? Because there are people that do this, right? They look for sympathy, or they look to play the victim to get a little bit of sympathy, but like they don't really need it. They're doing it from a place where it's not genuine. So that's them not being genuine. So there are times.
I'm trying to think of times when the sympathy could even be better than empathy, and I'm really struggling to come up with it. Maybe when it's like lighthearted, when you feel for someone, oh, they've had bad luck a few times, but it's not like a serious issue. You can have sympathy because you're not, you think of it more of a jovial stance. Or maybe there's a time when you have to have sympathy because you're really so far away from what they're going through that you can't actually put yourself, you're trying to be empathetic, but it's actually coming out as sympathy in the most, genuine and endearing way. Because if you're thinking of, things that you couldn't possibly imagine happening to you, like if we're thinking of, let's give just a crude example, for example, if you think about like concentration camps or the Holocaust or something like that extreme, I would, and you try to think of what people must have went through. Surely that's sympathy, right? It can't be empathy.
100%. Because that's the feeling of that is a genuine feeling of sorrow, right? So you feel you feel like that because of someone else's misfortune. That is I would feel incredibly sympathetic towards anyone that went through that situation, because like that's genuine sympathy. That's something that's worth having sympathy felt about. Where I think there are sometimes situations where people really are looking for it, but they don't necessarily warrant having it. I think social media actually can be a prime example for this. Really? People crying out for help. I think sometimes I've seen it a little bit. People crying out for help or putting all their problems plastered all over social media, but you don't necessarily need to do that. Some problems that you have going on, you don't need the world to know about it.
Crying out for help in what kind of way would you say?
I'd say
it's really difficult, isn't it? Because when it comes to social media, it's always a double-edged sword, whereas people can say that about anything really. Like if you're putting up a topless selfie or something like that, people say we don't need to see it. But there's the other point of view where sometimes that might make people feel more confident, more accountable. Like there's always two sides to the story, so it's.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a tricky one to target.
But do you just think is it like is there a specific tone or something that you've seen that?
My thing with. But we're going to go on a tangent, but I like this tangent. It's quite fun. So I think there's quite a bit. I would describe it as like the snowflake generation. So a lot of people get very offended nowadays. It could even be just lighthearted comedy, but it could also be stuff that are a little bit more serious. But I think there are people that get very offended from very small issues, and by those people getting offended by small issues, which they don't really need it. Someone's just said, "I'm offended by that." Gentle, I haven't even finished yet. By someone getting offended by something so lighthearted and so little, that is obviously, in my opinion, it could be bad to them, but in my opinion, it would be this. I think exactly what Alex has just said: the need for sympathy and validation through Instagram. So people feel like they need validation and sympathy because they're posting something like they're trying to give off like, this has happened to me and this has happened to me and this has happened to me and this has happened to me. Like they want you to feel sorry for them because maybe they're looking for validation or gratification for like, okay, like I've got so many people that are like feeling sorry for me right now and like this is such a bad. But like, do you need to be putting your whole life story on Instagram? Do you need to be telling the world?
No.
Are there things that you can just keep to yourself and speak to your friends about? Like,
yeah, and that's the I agree actually, but that's the sad part about it is it goes a bit deeper of people's potential default psychology that they've had before, like of how they cope and deal with things, and then I've got a feeling that some people feel a lot more strangely comfortable putting their stuff for loads of people to see online than they do speaking to somebody one-on-one, like having a genuine conversation, and that's quite worrying.
Yeah, it's very worrying, and that's just the world we're in, which is pretty sad. It is, but because they don't know them, some people don't feel as judged because you might never meet those thousands of followers that you've got. You probably won't ever meet those thousands of followers that you've got.
That's a mad thing, isn't it? When you say thousands of followers, you've got to remember that's if they're not bots and you haven't paid for them, then you need to remember that 1,000 people, even just 1,000, even mental health has got like nearly 800 followers now. 800 people is a lot of people.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people. Like I said, we think people as numbers now and not actual other people reading or watching on.
Yeah. I think we're going to do a whole other episode on Instagram and just Instagram. I would love to delve deeper into it. It's a fantastic subject to get deeper on.
Yeah, social media for sure.
Yeah, let's definitely do one on that. But yeah,
so we've got episodes coming up on social media, and what was the other one we've got coming up?
Change and adaptation, which is very, very relevant at the moment, especially in the last year. If you haven't been able to change and adapt this year, then you got to fix yourself up, people. You got to pick up. You got to go.
My chosen pet will be happy about that one. Octopus can change and adapt very well. Not so much your white polar bear is going to stick out like a sore thumb if we go somewhere dark, isn't it? So who really wins?
Don't you worry about him, mate. He can look after himself.
People who are just joining thinking, what the hell are they talking about?
There's someone from Twitch doing some most random comments. Can you do an episode on Mars bars? Yeah, why not? We'll do an episode on chocolate just for you, mate. Anyhow.
Yeah, I'm surprised people are watching on Twitch, so big up the Twitch audience. Right. We're going to wrap things up now anyway. But Lee, I'll see you obviously next Thursday when we can choose whether it's either going to be social media or change and adaptation. And last but not least, finish it off as always. Any last words from Lee?
Any last words from Lee? There is no end in sight currently, people. We're in a very, very strange situation. There are other countries around the world that are now back to normal as such. Look at the likes of New Zealand. Just remember, no matter what, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Dark times don't last, and I assure you we'll be there very, very soon. So chin up, stay positive, keep smiling, and keep cracking on. Do whatever you can do.
That's it. The man himself, Man2MAN, with me and Lee E. Stevens. Thanks everyone for jumping in. We'll see you soon, and don't forget to tune in on Monday 9 p.m. Give the podcast a follow, give the YouTube a subscribe, all the things if you've not done it already. Thanks so much, and we'll see you all soon.
Later, people.
Bye.